Have you ever wondered about the origins of Islam? Is it a divine revelation, or could it be a product of human design? Today, we delve deep into this fascinating question, exploring historical evidence, theological insights, and academic debates. Stay tuned as we uncover the facts behind one of the world's most widely practiced religions. Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or seeker, this documentary offers a balanced and thought-provoking perspective. Let's get started. To understand Islam's origins, we first need to explore the historical backdrop of 7th century Arabia. During this period, the Arabian Peninsula was a hub of diverse cultures, religions, and trade. Paganism, Judaism, and Christianity coexisted, each influencing the region's beliefs and practices. The Prophet Muhammad, born in 570 CE in Mecca, lived in a society steeped in tribalism and idol worship. The Quran, regarded by Muslims as the ultimate divine revelation, emerged in this context. Skeptics argue that the socio-political environment may have shaped the Quran's teachings, while believers see it as a timeless message transcending human influences. This segment sets the stage for the critical question: is Islam a reaction to its environment, or does it represent a supernatural truth? Let's dig deeper into the evidence. The Quran is the cornerstone of Islam, viewed by Muslims as the literal word of God. Its linguistic beauty and profound messages are often cited as proof of its divine origin. Yet, critics argue that its content reflects the societal norms and challenges of Muhammad's era. For example, many Quranic verses address trade ethics, social justice, and tribal disputes, issues central to 7th century Arabian life. Skeptics suggest that these themes indicate human authorship tailored to specific needs. On the other hand, scholars marvel at the Quran's unique structure, complex themes, and unmatched eloquence. Could such a text emerge from a single man in an illiterate society? The debate continues, but one thing is clear: the Quran's origins remain a central point of contention. Beyond the Quran, the Hadiths, collections of sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, play a critical role in shaping Islamic law and theology. But how reliable are these records? While Muslims regard authentic hadiths as a vital source of guidance, historians point out that these were compiled decades after Muhammad's death. Critics argue that political and sectarian influences may have tainted their authenticity. The meticulous science of hadith verification, however, highlights Islam's commitment to preserving its teachings. Chains of narration, cross-referencing, and rigorous scrutiny were employed to separate authentic hadiths from fabrications. The question arises: are hadiths a faithful extension of divine revelation, or do they reflect human interpretation and manipulation over time? Islam shares significant similarities with Judaism and Christianity, including monotheism, prophets, and sacred texts. Does this suggest a shared divine source, or could it indicate borrowing and adaptation? The Quran acknowledges earlier revelations like the Torah and the Gospel, positioning itself as the final and complete message. Some scholars see this as evidence of continuity, while skeptics argue it reflects assimilation of pre-existing ideas. Moreover, Islam's rituals, such as prayer, fasting, and pilgrimage, parallel practices in other faiths. Are these parallels evidence of universality, or do they point to cultural influences? Exploring these connections provides deeper insight into Islam's development. The question of Islam's origins is not just an academic exercise, it has profound implications for faith, identity, and interreligious dialogue. For believers, Islam's divine origins affirm its universal truth. For skeptics, exploring these questions can lead to a better understanding of human culture and history. Modern research, archaeology, and textual analysis continue to provide new insights, but they also spark controversy. The debate over whether Islam is a manufactured religion or divine truth remains unresolved, reflecting the complexity of faith itself. Regardless of where you stand, understanding Islam's roots fosters empathy and opens the door to meaningful conversations in an increasingly interconnected world. Mecca is central to Islamic tradition, housing the Kaaba, considered by Muslims as the house of Allah. Historically, the Kaaba was a sanctuary for numerous pagan idols before being dedicated to monotheism by Muhammad. Skeptics question whether the Kaaba's prominence in Islam reflects divine guidance or strategic consolidation of existing practices. By transforming a pre-Islamic center of worship into a monotheistic icon, Muhammad unified the tribes under a single religious framework. Was this adaptation a strategic move or an act of divine will? The dual narrative of political strategy and spiritual revelation continues to fuel debate. The early followers of Muhammad, known as the Sahaba, played a vital role in preserving and disseminating his teachings. Prominent figures like Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman ensured the Quran's compilation and expanded Islam's reach. However, critics argue that their contributions may have also shaped the religion's evolution, introducing personal or political biases. The rapid expansion of Islam across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond raises questions about the blend of faith and governance in its growth. Was the Sahaba's influence purely spiritual, or did it mark the beginning of Islam's transformation into a socio-political movement? Islam's fusion of religion and governance is one of its defining features. Muhammad served not only as a prophet but also as a political leader, uniting warring tribes under the banner of Islam. This dual role is often cited as evidence of Islam's practicality and divine guidance. Yet, skeptics suggest that this combination of faith and politics may have been a deliberate strategy to establish authority in a fragmented society. Does this synthesis undermine the idea of divine origin, or does it highlight Islam's holistic approach to life? Islam spread rapidly after Muhammad's death, reaching vast territories in Asia, Africa, and Europe within a century. While Muslims credit this growth to the religion's inherent truth, critics attribute it to military conquest and strategic alliances. The concept of jihad, often misunderstood, played a role in early Islamic expansion. Was this growth driven by genuine faith and divine favor, or was it a calculated campaign of political and military dominance? The Quran as we know it was compiled under Caliph Uthman, several decades after Muhammad's death. This raises questions about the preservation of its original form. While Muslims believe the Quran remains unchanged, some critics point to variations in early manuscripts and oral traditions. Could human intervention have shaped its final form? Or does its consistency over time prove its divine origin? The Quran is written in classical Arabic, celebrated for its unmatched eloquence. Muslims see this as proof of its divine nature, as Muhammad was reportedly illiterate. However, skeptics argue that the Quran's language reflects pre-existing poetic traditions of Arabia. Was the Quran a revolutionary linguistic masterpiece, or a continuation of existing cultural expressions? Muhammad's claim of prophethood is central to Islam. He described himself as the seal of the prophets, completing the line of messengers sent by God. Critics, however, question whether his role was divinely inspired or self-assumed. Did Muhammad genuinely receive revelations, or was he a visionary leader addressing his society's needs? Islam's emphasis on Tawhid, or the oneness of God, sets it apart from polytheistic traditions of pre-Islamic Arabia. Muslims see this as a universal truth revealed through Muhammad. Skeptics, however, argue that this concept may have been influenced by Judaism and Christianity, both of which promoted monotheism. Is Islam's monotheism a unique revelation, or an extension of existing beliefs? Islam brought significant reforms to women's rights in 7th century Arabia, including inheritance rights and protection against infanticide. While some view these changes as divinely inspired, others argue they reflect Muhammad's progressive vision for his time. How much of this is divine, and how much is a response to societal needs? Muslims believe that Muhammad performed miracles, with the Quran being the greatest of them all. However, unlike earlier prophets, Muhammad's miracles are not widely detailed in Islamic scripture. Critics question whether these accounts were later additions to enhance his prophetic status. Were the miracles real, or were they symbolic narratives? The concept of the Ummah, or global Muslim community, is unique to Islam. It transcends tribal, racial, and national boundaries. Skeptics suggest this idea was a political tool to unify diverse groups under a single identity. Is the Ummah a divine vision or a pragmatic solution to social division? Islam is often praised for its contributions to science during the Golden Age. The Quran contains verses that align with scientific discoveries, which some see as proof of divine origin. However, critics argue that these verses are vague and open to interpretation. Does the Quran truly anticipate modern science, or is this a retrospective reading? Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, emphasizes personal spirituality and a direct connection with God. It has enriched Islamic thought but also faced criticism from orthodox circles. Was Sufism part of Islam's original teachings, or did it evolve later as a response to institutionalized religion? Islam's historical interactions with Jews, Christians, and other faiths have shaped its development. The Quran acknowledges these groups as people of the book. Does this inclusivity reflect divine wisdom, or was it a pragmatic approach to coexistence? Islam remains one of the fastest-growing religions today. Its principles continue to resonate with millions, offering guidance and purpose. Skeptics question whether its relevance is due to divine origin or cultural adaptation. Regardless, Islam's influence on global history is undeniable, sparking ongoing discussions about faith and reason. Many of Islam's practices, such as the emphasis on communal prayer and tribal loyalty, mirror Arabian tribal customs. Critics argue that Islam may have adapted these practices to unify disparate tribes. However, Muslims believe that these elements were divinely ordained to promote unity and discipline. Is this synthesis of tribal traditions evidence of human authorship, or does it reflect divine guidance tailored to the needs of the time? Sharia, or Islamic law, governs many aspects of life, from personal ethics to societal rules. It is derived from the Quran and Hadiths, making it central to Islamic practice. Skeptics question whether Sharia's origins are purely divine or influenced by the socio-political needs of 7th century Arabia. Does Sharia represent timeless moral truths, or is it rooted in historical contingencies? One of Islam's defining features is its strong focus on social justice, including the rights of the poor, orphans, and marginalized groups. Critics argue that these themes reflect the socio-economic struggles of pre-Islamic Arabia. On the other hand, believers see them as evidence of God's universal compassion. Are these values divine revelations, or were they shaped by historical necessity? Zakat, or obligatory charity, is a cornerstone of Islamic practice. It reflects Islam's commitment to social welfare and economic equity. While skeptics may view this as a pragmatic tool to manage resources and prevent social unrest, Muslims see it as a divine commandment fostering compassion and solidarity. Was zakat designed to address societal needs, or does it transcend human intention? The act of praying 5 times a day, salah, is central to Islam, symbolizing submission to God. This practice reinforces discipline and a sense of community among Muslims worldwide. Critics suggest that such structured rituals may have been a way to establish order in a fragmented society. Is this practice a divine instruction or a cultural adaptation? Islam places significant emphasis on the afterlife, detailing rewards and punishments based on earthly deeds. This serves as both a moral compass and a source of hope for believers. Skeptics argue that such narratives are common in many religions, possibly designed to encourage ethical behavior. Is Islam's vision of the afterlife unique, or does it share roots with earlier traditions? Fasting during Ramadan is a pillar of Islam, symbolizing self-discipline, spiritual reflection, and empathy for the less fortunate. While skeptics may view fasting as a pre-existing cultural practice, Muslims believe it to be a divine prescription with profound spiritual benefits. Does this tradition reflect divine insight or cultural continuity? The Rashidun Caliphate, the first Islamic state after Muhammad's death, played a pivotal role in shaping Islam's political and religious structure. While Muslims see this period as guided by divine principles, critics argue that it was marked by political struggles and human ambition. Was this era a model of divine governance or an early example of religion blending with politics? Islamic art and architecture, such as intricate geometric patterns and stunning mosques, reflect the religion's emphasis on beauty and spirituality. Skeptics might argue that these elements are cultural expressions rather than divine mandates. Does the creativity in Islamic art point to human ingenuity or divine inspiration? During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars preserved and expanded on ancient knowledge, contributing to fields like astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. Muslims view this as a fulfillment of the Quranic call to seek knowledge. Critics, however, see it as a continuation of earlier Greek and Roman traditions. Was this intellectual flourishing divinely inspired or historically inevitable? Islamic teachings on apostasy, or leaving the faith, have sparked significant debate. While some argue that strict penalties reflect divine law, others see them as political tools to maintain unity. Is the stance on apostasy rooted in divine will, or does it reflect the challenges of consolidating power in early Islamic societies? Islam eliminated many practices prevalent in pre-Islamic Arabia, such as idol worship, tribal feuds, and female infanticide. Critics argue that these reforms were pragmatic responses to societal issues, while Muslims see them as evidence of divine guidance. Are these changes a product of divine revelation or human necessity? Sunni and Shia Islam represent the two major branches of the faith, stemming from early disputes over leadership. While Muslims view these divisions as part of a broader divine plan, skeptics argue that they reflect political and tribal rivalries. Does sectarianism suggest human influences on Islam's development? The Quran frequently references the natural world, encouraging reflection on creation as a sign of God's existence. Believers see these verses as evidence of divine knowledge, while skeptics argue that they reflect observations accessible at the time. Are these insights a product of divine wisdom or human observation? The Hajj, an annual pilgrimage to Mecca, is a core Islamic ritual. It symbolizes unity, equality, and submission to God. Skeptics argue that the pilgrimage has roots in pre-Islamic practices, while Muslims believe it to be a continuation of Abrahamic traditions. Is the Hajj a divine institution or a cultural adaptation? The Quran claims to be a message for all of humanity, transcending time and culture. Critics argue that its content often addresses specific issues of 7th century Arabia, raising questions about its universality. Is the Quran truly timeless, or is it a product of its era? Islam introduced principles of equality, justice, and dignity long before they became global norms. Critics, however, argue that some interpretations conflict with modern human rights standards. Does this reflect a divine message or the limitations of its historical context? Islamic tradition contains numerous prophecies attributed to Muhammad, many of which are claimed to have been fulfilled. While believers see this as proof of his divine mission, skeptics question the validity and interpretation of these prophecies. Are they divinely inspired or humanly constructed? Islam's rapid spread in modern times is often attributed to its universal message and adaptability. Critics argue that socio-economic factors and migration play a significant role. Does Islam's global growth reflect divine favor or practical factors? Islam emphasizes mutual respect among people of the book and encourages dialogue with other faiths. Critics question whether this openness is consistent across history or influenced by political circumstances. Does Islam's approach to interfaith relations reflect divine wisdom or human pragmatism? Angels play a significant role in Islam, with Jibril, delivering the Quranic revelations to Muhammad. Angels are seen as messengers of God, reinforcing the divine nature of Islam. Critics, however, question whether the accounts of angelic appearances were influenced by earlier Abrahamic traditions. Are these celestial beings evidence of divine interaction, or do they reflect symbolic narratives borrowed from pre-existing beliefs? The Hadiths, or sayings of Muhammad, serve as a critical source for Islamic law and ethics. They provide practical guidance beyond the Quran. However, skeptics point to inconsistencies and forgeries in early collections. Was the preservation of hadiths a divinely guided process, or does it reflect human effort to shape Islamic practices? Dreams hold a significant place in Islamic tradition, with both Muhammad and his followers experiencing visions that influenced key decisions. Skeptics argue that such dreams could have been psychological responses to societal pressures. Are these visions divine messages, or do they reflect human imagination? Before Islam, Arabia was home to numerous pagan traditions. Many of these cultural elements, such as the reverence for sacred stones and rituals around the Kaaba, were reinterpreted within an Islamic framework. Was this integration a strategy to ease the transition to monotheism, or does it reflect divine accommodation of cultural practices? Islam promotes a strong sense of community, emphasizing collective worship and mutual support. This is embodied in practices like communal prayer and zakat. Critics suggest that these practices serve to strengthen social cohesion in a divided society. Does this focus on community reflect divine wisdom, or is it a pragmatic response to societal fragmentation?
Welcome to Blessovia Science TV, where we take you on an exhilarating journey through the cosmos and unravel the mysteries of science. We are excited to offer you the opportunity to become a valued member of our ever-growing community of cosmic enthusiasts and knowledge seekers. Exclusive access to cosmic content. As a member of Blessovia Science TV, you will gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of cosmic content, including documentaries, interviews with leading scientists, space missions updates, and awe-inspiring visualizations of the universe, live Q, and sessions with experts. Your membership will grant you the chance to participate in live Q and sessions with renowned scientists, astronomers, and space explorers. Get your burning questions answered by those who push the boundaries of human knowledge. Embark on a journey that spans the cosmos and join us in unraveling the secrets of the universe. Become a Blessovia Science TV member today, and together we will reach for the stars. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.